So let's talk about Thanksgiving. Let's talk about Massasoit, William Bradford, Sassacus. Let's talk about all these guys. Massasoit was Usamequin. So let's start from the beginning. What is Thanksgiving? So Thanksgiving comes from this big feast that happened in 1621 between Massasoit and the Wampanoag. And the Wampanoag, there's 90 of them, there's 50 of the English, and it's the British, right? It's the British colonists, and they're separatists. So they're actually British rebels, right? So you had a bunch of British rebels that were not going to be a part of the Church of England. They ran to Holland, and then they ran to the United States. And not so much because they believed in religious freedom or religious toleration, but because they didn't believe in religious freedom. They said that their fucking way is the right way, and that's the only way. And the way that not the Puritans, but the separatists, William Bradford, so this is Plymouth colony. Not Connecticut, not Rhode Island, not Massachusetts. This is Plymouth colony. And so what they had believed was a congressional, you get inspired by the Holy Spirit. You read the Bible for yourself, you get inspired by the Holy Spirit. You don't need a priest, you don't need a pope, you don't need some fucking asshole in front of the damn room. Which is the opposite of the Catholics. There's people that'll just fucking go to Catholics and say they fucking know every fucking thing, but they don't know anything about Jesus, never fucking read the Bible. They don't make it a priority to talk about Christ and Christ's teachings. None of these things even matter. So it's almost like just obedience to authority is all that Catholics give a shit about. Just obey the person who's above you. Well, who's above God? Who's above the cops? Who's above? There's always somebody that's above somebody, right? And then Jesus says that the one who leads is the one that's going to serve everybody. So the one who serves everybody is the one that's above everybody. Okay. So a lot of contradictions and inconsistencies. The Puritans are not the separatists, but they are both Christy-ass motherfuckers. So 1621, you have a feast. You got the Plymouth colony, and you got William Bradford and the 50 survivors, because out of the 100, only 50 survived the first winter. So this would be year number 1 or 2, however you want to look at it, but it's the first fucking year. They got there in December, and now it's November, so it's part of the first year that they were there. And then a lot of this shit got destroyed in the War of 1812, so we might have actually lost all the records in the history of all of William Bradford and everything that the colonists had done. So William Bradford gets here, 50 of them are surviving. They just had a good harvest, they had a good hunt, a good feast, they had something good that had happened. Like they went hunting and caught a bunch of fucking deer, got some fucking birds or some shit. They were shooting their guns off like a bunch of fucking savages, like a bunch of just, mujahideen just at a wedding, right? Just fucking just shooting up in the air. Well, this alarms the Wampanoag. The Wampanoag say, well, what the fuck is going on over there? It's a battle, it's a fight. Oh, fuck, another gun battle, another fight. So the Wampanoag, they had been trying, they had talked to Samoset and Squanto. So there was kind of envoys, there was some diplomats that had talked to the English colonists, but they're not going to become best friends until Thanksgiving. And so what's good about this holiday, and what I like about this holiday is I like the cornucopia. I like that it's a feast. It's a 3-day feast, and it's a bright, shining moment. When you think about the history of the white man and Native Americans, it's really just bloodshed, disease, just stealing land, just being terrible. But for 3 days, because you have 90 Wampanoag and 50 English colonists, and again, English, British, but they're actually rejecting Henry, right? King Henry VIII wanted to fuck another woman besides his wife, so he had to kill the one. He hanged 2 queens. King Henry VIII married 6 times. He killed Anne Boleyn and he killed somebody else. But because of that, that separates from the Catholic Church. That's basically is the Protestant Reformation, but he's also hates Martin Luther. So King Henry VIII doesn't make any goddamn sense whatsoever. Essentially, he wants to fuck another woman, so he hangs the other woman, and then he gets tired of those women. He doesn't hang all of them. He's married 6 times, right? And he hangs 2 of the queens. So because of what King Henry VIII did, that's both in good because it says, all right, Protestants, you can be your Protestant selves, but then you still got to do everything just like the Catholics. And then Oh, wait a second. Why are we listening to this motherfucker? Why are we listening to that motherfucker? Why are we listening to any of these? That's why we get Roger Williams. Roger Williams is going to establish Rhode Island. And he's going to establish Rhode Island, and he's going to establish, Providence, Rhode Island, as a place of religious toleration, which is actually the genius of America. I'm Muslim, so you gotta be Muslim. I'm a Presbyterian, and if you're not a Presbyterian, fuck you. So the fact that Baptists and Christians and Catholics, I guess, I don't know, just blind obedience to authority, that's no good at all. A faith unquestioned is not a faith at all. That just, it's not a good faith. It's like just have faith. If you walk off a cliff, God will save you and put wings on your back, and then you'll just fly into the sunset. So have a little faith that, if it looks like shit will be fine, but if shit ain't going to be fine, then you probably shouldn't have any fucking faith at all. Put faith in yourself. Put faith in what you know that you could do. Jesus said faith, mercy, and justice. And so somebody did argue with me about faith, and they were kind of right. But to have a little faith. Oh, ye with little faith. Okay, have a little faith, right? God does take care of the trees and the wild, but in a way he doesn't, right? Because they're born and they die. Maybe that's what Jesus meant when the kingdom of heaven is coming. The end of the world is coming. Well, it's the end of the world for all of us. And so in a way, that's like an eternal message. The kingdom of heaven is coming for all of us. So you should repent, and you should treat your neighbors as yourself and start treating people right. You should treat people right. Just smacking the fuck out of a little fucking kid over and over again, that's fucking bullshit. I mean, these criminal motherfuckers have gotten away with this fucking bullshit, and they keep getting away with it, and the people just keep fucking sucking their fucking dick. It's almost like, how come nobody gives a shit? How come nobody gives a flying fuck? So let's get back to the Thanksgiving. They have this feast for 3 days. It's a military alliance. They go in, so 90 Wampanoag say, hey, what you guys doing? Oh, we were just celebrating. Okay, well, we want to celebrate too. And for 3 days, it's just merrymaking and wine drinking. They had a big old feast. They had, the Native Americans go out and get 5 deer, and they bring the deer to the table. So the guests, went out and hunted. They also hunted a whole bunch of fowl, ducks, and geese. So they went and killed a whole bunch of birds. And then I heard there was pudding and some other shit. If anything, actually, here are the plants that were native. You had turkey and deer that were native to America. But you also had maple syrup and cashews and walnuts and pineapple and peanuts and pecans and peppers. You had strawberries, wild berries, blueberries, corn, wild rice, passion fruit. The white man never even heard of any of this stuff. What's corn? What's a pepper? What is a pecan? Pecan or pecan? Pecan Sam or pecan? I am a pecan. I'm a pecan kind of guy. I think you could really figure out a man by the way he says pecan. Oh, pecans? Yes, I would love to have pecans. Potatoes, vanilla, chocolate, hazelnuts, sweet potato, pumpkin, honey, avocado, corn, berries, passion fruit. They never seen pineapple, so they never seen any of this stuff until they got to the New World. So 1620, they get here in December. So I want to actually start from the beginning. So that's the gist of it, right? Thanksgiving is just, and then they declared thanks. It's like a Christian thing. It's going to be declared a holiday later on by Abraham Lincoln, FDR. George Washington gave thanks once in November, and so did James Madison. But John Adams and Thomas Jefferson said no. We believe in the separation of church and state. And then it becomes a holiday, enshrined in our national consciousness. But the symbolism, the iconography, I don't know, the story, the images, the stories comes from that 1621 fall festival between the Wampanoag and William Bradford and the English Christian separatists of Plymouth Colony and Massasoit and Wamsutta and Metacomet. I would think that they were there too. They're going to have a war 50 years ago, or 50 years later, but they were the sons of Massasoit. So Chief Massasoit was Usa Maquin. He had a son named Wamsutta, and he had a son named Metacomet. Okay, so that's the gist. That's the gist. So now let's see if I can get this done in 20 minutes. get the whole story of Thanksgiving down. So you had 3.2 million years ago, you had this skeleton that was found in Africa. And they call it Lucy. And Lucy, the skeleton in Africa, it was born and died 3.2 million years ago. Well, that's not the only evidence that we have that all of mankind came out of Africa. You have a bunch of skeletons, a bunch of evidence of that. So all of man is born in Africa. And then 50,000 years ago, man breaks out of Africa. They said due to the creation of language, due to the maybe even consciousness. But due to consciousness and language, we're able to coordinate with each other. And then a bunch of us, so you still have a bunch of humans in Africa, but some of the humans in Africa are going to get the fuck out, break out, get into boats, and then they're going to populate Asia, they're going to populate Europe, and then ultimately they're going to populate the Americas. Now, that's Turtle Island, right? The Turtle Islands, right? North Turtle Island, South Turtle Island. Now, I believe it was 14,000 years ago. I've heard, 10,000. I've heard 25,000. Apparently, the Wampanoag had lived in Massachusetts, or right there in that area of Massachusetts, the Patuxent lands, where Plymouth colony and Massachusetts colony had established themselves for 10,000 years. So the Wampanoag had been over there for 10,000 years. 14,000 years, I feel like, is how long that I kind of generally believe that the Native Americans had been part of Turtle Island, North and South America. But I've also heard some reports say 25,000. And then I've heard some people just 14,000? No. I heard it was 12. Okay, what the fuck ever. It was compared to 1492. You assholes have been around here for 500 years, less than 600 years. So the European colonists have been around for less than 600 years, but the Native Americans have been around for 14,000 years. You know how when they say, 100 BC, 200 BC, when did Caesar get killed? 44 BC? So Julius Caesar got killed 44 BC. King David had lived 1000 BC. Moses, it said, and presuming anything about Moses is right, 3,500 years or 3,500 BC. We're talking about 14,000 years. So that's before David, before Moses, before Jesus, before Caesar, before Tiberius, before... Now, 7,000 BC, you had the Kennewick Man. And so now we have a skeleton here in the Americas in Washington State that said 9,000 years ago, man was here. So Native Americans got here 14,000 years into Turtle Island. The Wampanoag had been around for 10,000 years before 1620. And now let's get on with it. So 1534, you got King Henry VIII. He's going to kill 2 queens. He was married 6 times. King Henry VIII is going to have a baby from Catherine, his first wife, who is nicknamed Bloody Mary. Why was she named Bloody Mary? Because she killed a whole bunch of Protestants. King Henry was like, am I Protestant? Am I Catholic? Oh, I hate Martin Luther, and I hate the Pope. Oh, I hate everybody. I'm just a big, fat, stupid fuck, and I just want to stick my dick in fucking any vagina that I come across. So Bloody Mary tries to get back in the good graces of the Catholics, and she kills a bunch of Protestants. But Henry VIII hated Martin Luther. Eventually, he's going to behead Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, or Heward. Howard, Heward. So those are the 2 queens that he kills, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard. The Catherine of Aragon was the first woman. So this is going to bring the crisis to a head. He got married to Catherine Aragon, got tired of that stinky-ass pussy, and he's going to break with the Catholic Church. Why? To get an annulment. Now, he doesn't try to put charges on her. He does put charges on Anne Boleyn in a kangaroo court. And he puts charges on Catherine Howard, Heward, which is why they got fucking killed. But also, we got to blame a little bit of Jane Seymour. Jane Seymour wasn't going to be King Henry VIII's mistress. I'm not going to be your mistress. The only way I'll be with you is if you get married. Well, the only way you can marry me is if I get rid of Anne Boleyn. Well, then get rid of her. And then he's married to Jane Seymour. And then he's not. And then he divorced her. So he got Anne Boleyn killed for no fucking reason. And then Catherine Howard, apparently she had cheated on him before she got married. You're not a virgin? And then there was supposed to be talk that there was some sort of an affair that was happening behind his back. So for adultery, it's not really, it's not really rape or steal or assault or killing somebody now, is it? Now in 1606, Guy Fawkes is going to try to, or 1605, Guy Fawkes tries to overthrow the Parliament. Well, we're going to declare a day of Thanksgiving every year after that because we're burning Guy Fawkes in effigy. So fuck that Guy Fawkes. Thanks be to God. Thanksgiving. Thanks for the day. Thanks for the Lord. It's basically a Christian thing. A whole bunch of Christians came over to the New World and said thanks about something. Some people in Canada, fucking Virginia, Florida, Texas. Some conquistadors. Some of them were for good, decent, rightful reasons. I think there was one story about in Florida they actually dined with the Native Americans. So talk to me about those Thanksgiving celebrations that was dining with the Native Americans. Those are the only Thanksgivings I want to fucking hear about. Oh, a bunch of Christians got together and fucking put thumbs up each other's assholes. They were fingering each other's assholes and they said, man, thanks be to God for that good old fingering. Okay, I don't care about those kind of Thanksgivings. It is a Christian thing, so there's a shit ton of Thanksgivings. But Guy Fawkes is interesting, right? And it's interesting that they celebrated the death of a fucking person. But I like Guy Fawkes. V for Vendetta, right? Remember the 5th of November. The gunpowder treason and plot. There is no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot. Now we come up to the winter of 1609 to 1610. Now we got to talk about Jamestown because I'm not sure if we got evidence of Plymouth Plantation doing this, but this happened in Virginia. So if it happened in Virginia, then it probably also happened in Massachusetts as well. So it happened in Massachusetts, it happened in Virginia. What do we got going on here? Winter, 1609 to 1610. Well, Jamestown is fucking starving and cold. And they first start eating the horses, right? They ran out of pig, they ran out of chicken, they ran out of cows. I don't know if there was any chickens, cows, or... But then they started eating the horses. Then they ate the dogs and cats, and then the rats and mice, and then they started eating snakes. Then they started eating leather shoes. I hear they're eating dog food. I hear they're eating the sand in fucking Palestine. They're taking the sand and they're adding some shit to it, and they're turning it into cakes. When you're starving, I guess putting anything, eating dog food, eating leather, just eating dirt, whatever you could put in your stomach just to quell the stomach pangs. Whatever you can do to quell the pangs. So Jamestown is going to be a bunch of cannibals. They're going to fucking eat each other. Once they run out of a bunch of things to eat, they just start eating each other. So hopefully, I haven't heard Palestine doing anything like that. So the fucking English colonists that settled America, again, this is before America. This is 100, 200 years before the United States declares themselves to be Americans. I don't feel very close to my British. I'm still pissed off about the fucking tea tax and the goddamn oppression, King George III and shit. I like not having a fucking king. I like the 3 branches of government. I like being an American. So I'm still pissed off at the English. The English before 1776, that don't move me. Dorothy and William Bradford, they are... Okay, now we get back to our guys. So Jamestown was in Virginia. They were cannibals. They killed a 14-year-old girl, ate her. Clear evidence of taking out her brains, cutting up her fucking face and shit, pulling her skin off. Why did they eat her? Well, they were starving and she was dead and she had all that meat just on her bones. So, why the fuck not? Talk about what? Eating the dogs and cats. Well, what about eating the fucking man and woman and child? Humans. So not only did the English colonists in Jamestown eat humans, but I'm pretty sure, it's just a guess, but the first winter that William Bradford and Dorothy isn't even going to make it through the first winter. Half of the 100 of the Pilgrims, which is just the people that came first, the frontiersmen, the pioneers, just the people courageous enough to come first. That's all Pilgrims are. It's not the Puritans. The Puritans are Massachusetts Bay Colony. We're talking about the Separatists. So 1620, half of them died, so it seemed like they may or may not have ate, each other. And do I have evidence of that? No, I guess I don't. But Jamestown, it happened in 1609 to 1610, and here they are, wintertime. They're going to land. They're going to get up there around fucking Massachusetts. November 21st, they're going to sail around for a while. December 17th, December 25th, December 26th. A bunch of different dates, but essentially they're sailing around from November 21st. They arrive in Cape Harbor. Dorothy Bradford is going to fall overboard December 17th and die in the freezing waters. December 25th, they're going to build a house. So for the first Christmas in America, there was no merrymaking, no celebrations. They said, let's get out and get some work done, and they built a house. And then I want to hear that they disembarked on December 26th, but a lot of people still stayed on the boats, and then the boat became a place for the dead. While they're sailing over here, it's going to take 66 days of sailing, so essentially 2 months on the Atlantic. They had one boat, and then that boat was, when they're in Holland, that boat had a leak. They bought the Mayflower, and then they took the Mayflower and came back over here. While they were coming over here, they signed an agreement called the Mayflower Compact. And the Mayflower Compact was, all right, we all need to work together. It's a pre-runner to the U.S. Constitution. So the Mayflower Compact is historical. So we're still 1620. We're getting to the end of 1620. You should plan shit out. If you're going to be better than the separatists, hey, let's go to fucking America. Well, where do you want to go? To the cold fucking regions. Well, when do you want to go there? The winter. I want to go there the winter time. So it's almost like, what was the push factors? Yeah, let's get the hell out of here. I guess it might be cold in Holland at the time, huh? By the fucking oceans, I would think it'd be a little warmer. But maybe you shouldn't settle a new region in the fucking dead of winter. All right, we'll get there at the beginning of winter and then just freeze our dicks off for 3 months and then all of us die. That's one good thing about Christy asses. They'll just, in the name of religion, fuck it, we're going to the new world. We're going to Mars. But there's no atmosphere. Who gives a shit? 100 of us, let's go. We're doing it for Christ. So because half of them died, half of them starved to death, disease, got attacked. I don't know the reasons for why half of them fucking died. It just seems they're burying all these. I don't know. I don't see them fucking burying any of them. I see them eating them. Out of 102, 50 of them died. All right. So now what are we going to do with these cannibals? These fucking separatist English cannibals. These Christian separatist cannibals. Well, let's carry on. All right, so they're going to eventually get to March 16th, 1621. That's when we get to meet Samoset. Samoset, and I heard that he was an Abenaki. He wasn't like a native Wampanoag, but he's going to be a liaison. He's going to be a diplomat. He's going to be an interpreter between the Wampanoags and the Plymouth plantation. I mean, plantation, that should tell you all you need to know. Doesn't it? Now, what's crazy, so you got March 16, 1661. You still got 50 Englishmen that had survived, that's still alive. March, so we're getting to springtime, right? They were able to get to St. Patrick's Day. So, a little bit warmer, a little bit better times. Well, you got Samoset, a Native American. Samoset just walks into the middle of the English fucking settlement, and he says, welcome, Englishmen. He says, welcome, Englishmen, in perfect fucking English. What the hell did this savage, heathen, pagan just say? Welcome, Englishmen. Huh. Well, I'll be damned. And then they talked to him for a while. They kept a close eye on him, they said. But they talked to him, and they talked about a whole bunch of things, and they were able to actually have a pretty good conversation. He asked for beer. They didn't have beer to give him, but they gave him biscuits and butter and cheese and pudding. How did they get biscuits and butter and cheese and pudding? My God, they knew how to make fucking pudding and cheese back then. There's goddamn motherfuckers don't even know how to make Kool-Aid. Cheese and butter and biscuits? How the hell do you make this stuff? When he walked into the middle of the village, he was completely naked except for his little loincloth. Right, just a belt and a little sash that just covered up his wang. He confidently and boldly walked into the middle of the village. They also gave him strong water, whatever the fuck that is. So he got strong water, pudding, cheese, butter, and biscuits, but no beer. Now let's meet Squanto. So Samo Set, if this is on the AP history test, who was the first Native American that talked to the English colonist in Plymouth? It would be Samoset. I want to say Abenaki, but I'm not for sure. Now we got Squanto. So Samoset is going to have them meet Squanto, and Squanto is going to become the main liaison, the main interpreter, the main person that goes between the tribes and says what each of them are talking about. So essentially, Samoset introduces Squanto. Squanto's fucking story is amazing. Apparently 6 times he crossed the Atlantic Ocean. 6 times he crossed the Atlantic Ocean. He was the last of the Patuxent, or one of the 2 of the last of the Patuxent. It wasn't 5 or 6 years ago that the Patuxent were a separate Native American people, and then those lands, they were wiped the fuck out. The Wampanoags said that they had lived in the Patuxent lands for about 10,000 years. So that whole fucking village and that whole region were the Patuxent, and then the fucking Christy-ass motherfuckers say, well, thank God for the genocide. If it wasn't for all the disease killing all these humans, then there wouldn't be all this land for us to settle on. God has intervened. That's divine, what do they call that? Not providence, divine intervention. That was divine intervention. God smite those people so we could live on their land. Thy will be done. Thanks be to God. Amen. So Squanto means divine rage. Isn't that awesome? Sassacus means wild man, fierce, just like Enkidu, a wild man created by the gods. But Sassacus is going to die. So is Squanto. Squanto's going to die 1 year after he fucking meets these assholes. Tierra Blanca, that means white earth. Wampanoag means the people of the light. So Einstein would love the Wampanoag. The people of the light? Well, we are the people of the light. Yeah, fucking Newton didn't factor light into his equations, did he? Newton didn't know shit. So Squanto means divine rage. He's going to be the liaison. Now, before he talks to them, the reason why he knew English was because he was kidnapped. He was kidnapped by a British ship. So if he's meeting them in 1621 and Project 1619, well, hell, there was slavery before 1619. He's going to get kidnapped by a British ship. They're going to take him to Spain, and then some Catholic friars in Spain is going to help him get to London. There he's going to live with John Slaney. John Slaney knew John Mason. He's going to hitch a ride back with John Mason back to the United States, to the Newfoundland Company. And then when he finally gets back to the Patuxent lands, all he does is finds a pile of bones. So incredible that Squanto was able to survive 5 or 6 years of crossing the Atlantic 5 or 6 fucking times, but he only survived 1 goddamn year after he met William Bradford and his fucking separatist, goddamn fucking non-Puritan sons of bitches. You're not even a Puritan. Puritans thought that they could reform the Church of England, whereas the separatists said, no, that shit's corrupt. We got to separate and make our own fucking thing. Which if I had to choose between one of the two, both of them are, up their own asses thinking they're better than everybody. But the separatists are right? The Church of England, if the Pope ain't the fucking shit, the Church of England, are you fucking kidding me? Well, okay, we've always listened to these guys for 2,000 years, but let's start listening to these guys over here. How come? Well, he wants to fuck this woman, and the Pope won't let him. And he wants to chop off her head and fuck this other woman. And he wants to chop her head off and fuck this other woman. And the Pope ain't going to let him, So that woman must have had a lot of fucking people in goddamn Catherine of Aragon. She had some powerful people advocating on her behalf. So we're going to get to the first part of this story. I think we're going to have to wrap it up With 10 seconds. Wampanoag, people of the light. 2/3 of 70,066 village was killed.